Hey guys, what it is yo girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Drama Life Prison Wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Hoping, because you got to hold your breath for justice. To see justice before all fades too bleak. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, guys, I'm coming through. It is now May the 18th, 2025. Girl, it is after 1 a.m. Just got off of work like an hour ago. Unwind and feeling sick in my stomach. I'm tired. My eye going to bed. Y'all see that eye? The eye been giving me so much trouble since I got out the hospital. I could barely even open it. But yeah, I going to bed. I feel like going to bed. My stomach going to bed. But I got to finish this picture. This is Project Reach the World. This is the third session of drawing Richard Taylor. He is a content creator. He is a spoken word poet, and he is an author. We are covering the story of him being wrongfully accused. Now, you know, I cover wrongful convictions. Started with my husband being wrongfully convicted. This is year 23 of fighting for his innocence, being with him from day number one. Girl. And I'm fighting a losing battle at this point. Now we're just trying to survive the rest of his wrongful conviction because I haven't been able to break his story. But it led to me studying and why do I keep saying covering wrongful conviction stories, because I realized on my journey that people don't believe it. They cannot. They'll believe anything before they believe anyone is wrongfully incarcerated. The only time they will say, oh, is once, decades and decades and decades later, the person somehow, grace of God parts the sky and allows their story to break and they get free. Then people are outraged. They're like, how did this happen? Well, girl, it happens every day, and y'all don't even give two darns that it's happening. Like, literally, y'all allowed my husband to be wrongfully incarcerated for 23 years, and y'all didn't lose not one night of sleep over that. So that's the only time you're outraged, once it's actually proved. But there are many people in there telling you daily, I am not supposed to be here. Anyways, I'm tired, so I'm rambling. I had visitation today. I went to work straight from visitation, dropped off my grandson. I got off of work. I'm doing Project Reach the World. So this is me squeezing my purpose, my art, my everything into the back pockets of my life after work. Because work comes first, because I got to barely survive, right? And then I got Vizzo in the morning again, girl. But at least I'm off tomorrow. So let's at least get like maybe 40 minutes in on drawing. We're going to get back to covering Richard Taylor's story. But first, I just came across this video on my ride home that Tory Lanez has new evidence in his case. So yesterday, I was saying, oh, what is his father going for compassionate release? But I'm thinking that's what I thought he was, aiming for. But it's looking like something else. He trying to get something else. But here we go. I'm gonna play this and get back to. Oh, let me show you the picture that I am drawing of Richard Taylor. Let me get to Photoshop. Where's my Photoshop? Okay. This is the picture that I'm drawing. All right, so I got the outline and we're finna start like filling in the details. So let me get to this video, and then as soon as this one goes off, I'm tired, guys. I'm gonna try not to chime in, but girl, it's hard for me. It really do be hard for me to not say nothing. Okay, here we go.
For the underserved community here in the state of California. This provides affordable legal services for the underserved community here in the state of California. Today, we want to thank everybody for coming out, all of the press, all of the fans, everyone that's here today. We want to say thank you for coming. Today, we're going to hear some really, really compelling new evidence that you've never heard before. Our legal team will explain all of that to you. We will have updates on Tory Lanez, Mr. Peterson, on how he's doing. It's really sad to see the situation that he's in, and we think it's time. Enough is enough. It's time to bring the brother home. So with that, I would like to bring
Brothers home.
Our lead consultant, Mr. Walter Roberts.
All wrongfully incarcerated.
We are here today to bring your attention some information Unite the People believes is exculpatory of Mr. Daystar Peterson's case.
I gotta stop right here. Already.
Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Coleman.
What do I tell y'all every day? Exculpatory evidence is usually taken out, extracted. It's like a roadmap, and someone strategically cut holes in my map and expect me, the juror, to arrive to the right destination, meaning verdict. How can you cut holes in a case and then want people to come up with the correct verdict? With verdict means truth. There's only one truth. So they extract I'm sorry, my stomach going to bed, my mind going to bed. I can't even hardly talk, girl. But they extract exculpatory evidence. That is anything that is in favor of the defendant. And then they enhance inculpatory. That is anything that can be considered not in favor of the defendant and of the state or whoever is pressing the charges or whatever. So many times these are one-sided cases and they're decided on one side. Example, in my husband's case, they extracted surveillance cameras that could have proved my husband was not where they said he was. And it could have proved his actual whereabouts. But it is my belief, because it does not align with what they wrote in their statements and what they're even saying to even incriminate my husband, because those cameras didn't show what they claim it showed, they extracted it. They took out the exculpatory. Anything exculpatory in my husband's case was not put into the case and was not brought to trial. So what can you expect for the jury to do but come up with guilty? Right? But sorry, get the joint.
On an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case. The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gaston, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives.
I did cover this story.
The only party that responded last week was Megan
Links
Pete's
in the description.
representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell. Unite the People represents Daystar Peterson in his appellate process. We filed an appellate brief and a writ of habeas habeas corpus on his behalf. The district attorney's office has already responded. The case is fully briefed. We're just waiting for the appellate court's decision. We were willing to wait for the appellate process to play out, but given that brutal, unprovoked attack, we felt it necessary to come here today to provide. It is our intention to make a request to the governor to either pardon or commute the sentence of Mr. Peterson.
Wow.
So
You
that
think
when
he gonna do
punished
that?
for this attack, he's not returned to a jail cell, but that he's allowed to go home and recover. Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the such. He was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times. Mr. Peterson grabbed
Let
her
me
arm
stop it.
and
Let me
knocked
stop
her
it.
down,
Hold on.
and the gun fired 2 more times.
Hold on.
In essence, Mr. Peterson never.
Do you hear what he just said? And I predicted, girl, I didn't call this case, but I did review it. Will be links in the description box. Or just go to, because I'm slow about putting my links in, go to the playlist on my page, Marcello Jackson, wrongfully convicted Florida man. I actually have all my wrongful conviction cases that I reviewed there. It's not just my husband, but it spawned off of him. I'm going to change the playlist, but right now, that's what it's called. But I reviewed this, and I said that. For her to be giving testimony, and then there's not action taken against her, she got something for that, most likely, allegedly. And usually they do that with the person that actually committed the alleged crime. So in all actuality, the person actually committing the crime usually is let go. And then there has to be someone that somebody's taking this, the fall for this. But they take it off of the person that actually did it if they work with them. That's why I say whoever squeals first gets the deal first, girl. So once they cut that deal with you, they got to figure out how to reroute this case and put it on somebody else. That's why the pieces don't usually fit together. The only time the pieces gonna fit together is when it's the truth. So if you're trying to have another verdict come about, which is another truth, where there can't be no other truth unless we're like a Spider-Verse or something like that. Is it a whole different universe where this is true and that is true too? No, there's only one truth. But usually they're gonna work, when they work with them, it's usually them who did it, and they're just cutting a deal. They know that girl, let them talk. I'm supposed to be drawing.
Not anybody. Never even touched that gun. Never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Miss Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Miss Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken, and again, simply not given to the defense? We don't know. It should have been taken. It is Unite the People's understanding, regular LAPD practice at a crime scene like that, anybody who's there, DNA is taken. Another irregularity. Why, at Ms. Harris's police interview, was a non-lawyer, non-family member, record company executive allowed to participate? Highly irregular situation. Normally, we see cases, strangers are not allowed in these things, but it was in this case. All of these things point to the highly irregular nature of his trial and his conviction. It is our contention that he was wrongly convicted. And while we at first were willing to let the process play out, it is our contention now that if he is not pardoned or released promptly, he may never come out. And that would be the ultimate injustice, is that he gets killed in prison for something he did not do.
After over 2 years in prison without incident, Tory was stabbed 14 times just days after a major national news outlet reached out to Megan Pete's team, Kelsey Harris, and former DA George Gascon about a story on new evidence in this case. You don't have to believe in conspiracies to see the pattern. When evidence was about to come to light, Tory was nearly killed. So let's stop pretending this is complicated. Let's stop treating this like some cultural war flashpoint. This is about a man, a father, a son, Daystar Peterson, who has sat in a prison cell for over a year based on a case that wouldn't pass the smell test in any honest courtroom. The prison system can no longer guarantee his safety. And that alone should be grounds for immediate action. But combine that with the overwhelming evidence of a botched investigation, and this becomes not just a legal issue, but a morale emergency. Tory Lanez deserves a new trial. He deserves due process. He deserves a pardon. And if justice still matters in America, he deserves to go home. So what now? What do we do now? We're all here today.
I can't laugh right now.
We're calling on Governor Gavin Newsom, the California Attorney General, and the public at large to act. If you believe in due process, sign the petition now on the Conwell Institute page that Gianna Caldwell mentioned.
We're going to check out the petition tomorrow.
Let your voice be counted. Let the system know that we see what's happening and we won't stay silent. We can't be a nation that claims to value justice but looks the other way when a man is buried beneath the weight of politically motivated prosecution.
Allegedly, we are, though.
Dr.
This is
King
so
said
ironic
again,
to me.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This is that threat in modern day time. This is that moment. Daystar Peterson
And you know what's so crazy about this?
And we,
still nobody cares until it's them or their loved one. It is so sad. It is so sad. Nobody cares about the people that are in prison. And even when I fight for prison reform, they don't care. When I talk about the situations that you wouldn't even let your dog be in that. They say, well, they shouldn't have never did what they did. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Oh, no. So you justify it, but you don't realize there are innocent people there. And your innocent behind could easily be in there. It is so easy to be wrongfully incarcerated. All it takes is for one person to say, you did it. And guess where you going? Don't matter if the evidence don't align, don't corroborate what they saying. It will come together and you can be wrongfully convicted and incarcerated just like that. And then it'll be people out here plugging their ears as you tell your story, ignoring you, telling you, well, why don't you post about something else? We're tired of hearing about free Marcello. We're tired of hearing about free such and such. We're tired of hearing that. Life is too hard anyways. We don't want to be burdened down with that. But people will be telling you that when your life hangs in the balance, or your loved one life hangs in the balance. Those will be the things you'll hear, because that's what most of the people that are wrongfully incarcerated hear on a daily. Basically, your life does not matter because you're in prison. And you never should have did what you did, which an innocent person did nothing to be in prison. But you're still treated as though you're guilty and deserve it. Okay, that's the end
Here's
of
the money.
that one. I tried to stop that before I heard that. So let's go back to Richard Taylor's video we were reviewing from yesterday. And let me complete. Let's see, I got so many tabs open. This is picking up where we left off. Really, I guess where we left off with a ad.
So immediately, as I mentioned before, when I get in those situations, I went straight to the Bible. I went to what I know. I went to my prayers, my fasting. And, I just dug into the Bible because I know that was the only thing I had. It was my word against hers. But I knew I could prove my innocence when the evidence came back. But nevertheless, they gave me a court-appointed lawyer. He came. He did the video little thing. He asked me my name, and he asked me, he just asked me a couple of questions. He never asked me did I did it. He never asked me anything, and I'm trying to talk to him like, okay, what are you gonna do? Like, look, I did not do this. He's like, okay, whatever. And
They
then,
don't care if you
I'm asking him questions, and he takes it a couple of frivolous information. Hey, what did you do? Did you go to school? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, look, sir, I didn't do this. He was like, well, okay, we'll talk about that later. I gotta go right now, and he hung up the phone. And so that right there let me know that I was in it by myself. So again, I started to pray. I started to, to fast and seek God and, really ask for, guidance in this. So about 2 months later, it's time for my preliminary hearing, and which I'm being held without bond. Anytime that, you're in jail with those things, you're being held without bond. So it's time for my preliminary hearing. About 2 days, I hear from this lawyer again. He comes, and he says, well, Mr. Taylor, they offered you a plea, and I think it's a really good plea. I think you should take it.
I'm sorry. I got to pause it.
27 years.
I wrote a song about that. My husband, wrongfully convicted. His plea was 17 years. And we now are 23 years into his wrongful conviction. And even he is like, if I knew that I was going to be railroaded like this, I would have just took the plea. Pleas are not about really guilt or innocence. It's basically how much of your life can you salvage. If you lose, and they're going to almost ensure that you lose, Richard Taylor's outcome is not normal. That's a miracle. He's a walking miracle. That's a miracle. That doesn't happen often. So it's usually how much of your life can you stand to lose and recover from, like salvaging your life. Because if my husband had took the 17 years, He's 23 years in. Honestly, we're in Florida. There's only 85, and only, I don't know how I let that come out my mouth, because we do more time here in Florida than any other state. Usually it is 65%. Florida is 85%. We were fighting tooth and nail every year. They just had that bill I covered that they were trying to go to 72%, and they backed that down, took that off the books, and no, Florida is staying at 85%. They don't want to budge off of none of this time that they've given out. So 85%, I don't know off rip how much that would have been, but if you had took 17 years, I'm going to guess it would have been about, 14 years? We're 23 years in. So my husband would have been home about a decade ago. Remember, he was wrongfully arrested when our daughter was only 2 months old. I just got off of bed rest. By the time she was 9 months, because I was able to get him out on bond. On my own, I've done everything on my own. I can't gain no support. This is a huge weight I have carried on my own. But at 9 months, his bond was, revoked, and he's sent back to jail because he lost his trial. So at 9 months, he was snatched out of our daughter's life. So she would have been about 16 when he came back home. He would have still caught her high school graduation. Now, he missed first step, first words, kindergarten graduation, everything. But he still would have been there to see her high school graduation, her prom, her college graduation, all of these places he's supposed to have been there. And it was a vacant seat. And all I could do is email him a picture of all these fleeting moments, not to mention the birth of our granddaughter, the birth of our grandson. He can't get this back. Even if you let him out today, he can't get those moments back. They're gone. They're stolen. So my husband and I looking back like, if we knew it was like this, I wish you hadn't just took the plea. And I wrote a song about that. And this ain't legal advice. This is save your advice. I'm not telling you to take the plea. I'm telling you to consider it. You better, I don't know. Anyways, if you accused in a crime, you better take the plea. You ain't got no money, you better take the plea. You ain't got a good lawyer, better take the plea. Hey, take that from me. You take it to trial to send you up Shit's Creek. Yeah, it's your girl Cadillac. Just consider it, because it's your life. Your life.
What a gap, right? 9 to 27 years. And, they might give me 9, they might give me 27. So I looked at him, I said, Mr. Sir, I'm not going to mention his name, but I said, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. Look, sir, I did not do this. You haven't even asked me anything about this case, about what happened, about how I can prove my innocence. And actually, in fact, last time you hung up on me. And he said, well, matter of fact, I got to go now, too. And he hung up the phone. And, he was the court-appointed lawyer, the one who was appointed by the courts to defend me, to have my best legal interests at heart. So at that point, I was like, I'm not going to let this man represent me in preliminary. In preliminary trial, is where you confront the witness, you ask questions to kind of, actually try to get your client off doing it to see if they got enough evidence to try. So when we get to court, Mr. Hallett, I said his name anyway, forget him, but he's in there, and I immediately tell the judge, I said, sir, I don't doubt his competency, but I'm not completely comfortable with him He's not asked me any information. I would like to represent myself.
You do better.
In this hearing, and of course the state objected. Oh, he has a lawyer, and the judge said, well, it is his right. I don't advise him to. It's not against his best interest, but he has that right. So he advised my lawyer, okay, you can help him out, but I didn't need his help because I know the question that I would ask her that she had to lie to if her story was going to corroborate with what she said, and I didn't know what she said, but I know that there were certain questions I could ask her because they had gave me a little bit of her testimony in the discovery, and so I went and asked her questions that I knew she had to lie to. The DA tried to make it hard for me by objecting to everything, but I did a pretty good job in pinning her down in questions on the record that could be corroborated by phone records and other records, DNA records and time frames that, she had to lie to in order for a story to be correct. So, I get through that, and once again, I go back to the cell. I'm in there fasting. I'm in there praying. At that point, I think I read the Bible. In those 5 months I was in, I read the Bible back to forward and backward at least 5 times. It was a time for me to get close to God. I was very, even though I was facing the rest of my life in jail, I was very, very, very close. I really learned how to pray. I really learned how to fast. I really learned how to seek God because that's all I had. When you're in jail, for something like that, people already assume you did it because you're in jail. So people I was reaching out to was like, I told my mother to reach out to, some character witness. Because once again, when you're in jail, people automatically assume you did it.
Yeah.
Just the mere mention of that word sounds guilty. The mere mention of rape was like guilty. Even one of the jurors, when they selected, it was like when I heard what he was charged with, because I thought he was a lawyer in his suit, but when I heard it was a charged with that, her first reaction was, oh my, how could he do something like that? Not, okay, he may be guilty, she may be lying, how could he do something like that? So that's what I was facing. Long story short,
Implicit bias.
about a month later,
That's what it's called.
the lawyer wanted to get me to continue the case until January. By this time, it's like September. The case is scheduled for trial in November. Now, I studied the law and everything. I went to the law library, and I knew that in Virginia, if you're being held without bond, they have to try you in a period of 150 days. If not, they have to let you out. And so my lawyer wanted to continue the case to January, which would have been like, 100,
Y'all hear that?
about 200 days. I was like, no,
His
first of all, I didn't
I'm
do this.
trying
I'm
to
ready to get
pause
this
it.
over right now. I want to invoke my right to speak.
You see that? Can you see where his lawyer is working against him? His lawyer wants him to continue it, though that's not in his best interest. Put a pin in that. Put a pin right there.
Trial. And also, if I would have continued it, that would have negated my speedy trial, because the only way that speedy trial, that 150-day limit is negated is if the client asked for a continuance. And that's what he was trying to get me to do once again. And so at that hearing, I was like, okay, I'm going to fire this guy.
Marcello would have been free
He hasn't
today.
asked me anything. He doesn't know anything. So at that point, when we went to court that day for the continuance, he asked for the continuance. First of all, I objected. I said, Your Honor, I don't want a continuance. I want this handled immediately. I'm being held without bond for something I didn't do. And then even the judge looked at it. He said, Mr. Halleck, if you continue this, you're going to be past the 150 days, which, he has the right to a speedy trial. So we're not going to do that anyway. But I'm also going to grant his request for another attorney. And this is where, once again, God steps in and gives me favor. He gave me one of the best lawyers in Norfolk, B. Thomas Reed. Shout out to B. Thomas Reed. He was normally what they call a paid lawyer, which is one you have to retain. But this was his day that he was supposed to accept the pro bono case. And my name came up.
That
So
is
I
well
was
happening,
blessed once again with
Marcello,
the lawyer who really
But
was
the
serious about
part
his job.
that
So when I got back to the cell block, I told some of the guys
messed
from
Marcello up, and I'm probably gonna stop on that. That too happened with Marcello. He ended up with a paid lawyer. But I believe that was Marcello's downfall. Because he was more invested in getting Marcello convicted. Like I say, dude, do you know if you on offense or defense? Girl, are you defending him or are you offended? Like, girl, what side, which team are you on? It was really like it was two prosecutors against my husband. So by him being a paid lawyer, he had more resources to ensure Marcello's conviction. I don't believe the public defender would have did so much to get his own client, to get him found guilty. The first thing the public defender is going to tell you, they ain't got enough money for nothing. And then they're going to tell you that, like he said, they don't even look into your case like that. They introduce to you on the day of trial, most times. Many people ain't even met with or even talked to the lawyer before they're ready to defend them. So by this man being a paid lawyer, I think it hurt Marcello, which we thought it was going to be in his best interest. We were praying and thanking God that, oh my gosh, Marcello, when you were going to have a public defender, now you have a paid lawyer. And this paid lawyer is telling us about his track record, how he got this man off, and there was blood here, blood there, blood everywhere. But my husband's easy case where you have no DNA, you have no weapon, yet you're charging him with it. You have no fingerprints, you have no evidence, you have no witnesses. All you have is, you have nothing. You have a flimsy behind case. So how you won that case where blood here, blood, you won that one, but you lost this case. You fumbled this easy to win case because there's no evidence against Marcello. Only evidence that they used was the conflicting stories of the two alleged victims. The two alleged victims that after they were in fear for their life from Marcello, they ran off from Florida and moved to Vermont and did not show up to trial. And because they didn't show up to press the charges, Marcello was supposed to be, the charges were supposed to be dropped and Marcello be let go. Instead, Marcello's paid lawyer asked for a continuance so that he can go get the guys from Vermont to come and testify against his client. And he wrote it as investigating for trial. How is that? Girl, trial over with. They didn't show up. What you need to go out of town to investigate for trial? If you took your hands off of it, they would have had to let Marcello go. That's why he motioned. Marcello's lawyer motioned for a continuance. And by that time, he motioned the court for money for travel, food, and lodging from Florida to Vermont so that he can subpoena after they both ignored 3 subpoenas apiece and ran off to another state and never responded and didn't show up to trial. He goes and subpoenas them in person, drags them back to Florida to testify against his client. And then during trial, every bit of testimony conflicted between the two. because they can't be in the courtroom at the same time. So this one don't know what that one said. So they can't keep their lies straight. They were caught in lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. But our only saving grace is that most of Marcello's wrongful conviction is behind him. We got about another decade. Well, over a decade. And if we're both still alive, I'll see him come home. All right, guys, I'm going to stop here. I got visitation in the morning. Marcello going to be calling me at 8:30. Are you getting up? And girl, I ain't even going to be able to raise my arm out the bed. So I'm going to go ahead and go. And plus, this video is getting long. Last time I tried to upload a 40-minute video. Girl, it took over 8 hours. So we're going to stop right there. This is session 3 of drawing Richard Taylor and reviewing his story of being, his testimony is what he calls it, of being wrongfully accused and beating the case. Wrongfully, what did he say? Wrongfully accused, rightfully exonerated. I don't know if that's how it goes, but he's a walking miracle. All right, guys, it's your girl Cadillac.